How do you deal with confrontation? Is confrontation a 4-syllable word to you, similar to a 4-letter word? Does it leave you for the next day or week churning over the confrontation in your head and going, I should have said this, I should have said that? Let's tune in and we're going to talk to you about how to deal with confrontation in a more spiritual way. Hi, I'm Kaylin. This is Living in the Flow, where we want to help you change your mind so that you really change your energy and your experience. And this is my wise friend Oberon, who brings great clarity and great insight into our videos. Let's get to confrontation. So confrontation is something that a lot of people really avoid. It really, I think, stresses them out. They kind of really walk around confrontation like they're walking on eggshells to try not to crack anything, try not to rock any boats, cause any problems, and try to get out without anything happening. Well, when that happens, one of the things that's occurring is that we're falling into a real misunderstanding about confrontation. See, for most people, confrontation becomes this heated conversation that's really emotionally charged, and it can send zaps, or almost like Zeus sending lightning bolts, and you have to sort of dodge them because you'll get hurt and hit, and you might even send some lightning bolts yourself. It's just the kind of experience that takes you to that sort of level, or it can do that and or give you the experience where you kind of check out, you kind of don't know what you did or didn't say, and afterwards you're going over the conversation in your head. So then, it's like a day or 2 or 3 or 4 later, you're going, oh, I should have said this, oh, I should have said that, and you're remembering parts of it. And this all happens when we're really not comfortable with confrontation, but the reason we're not comfortable with it is because we think it's this big, bad, uncomfortable, nasty thing. So let's change our mind about that today. I want you to look at why a confrontation comes up. This week, one thing that happened is Oberon had a friend who asked us about how we handle difficult people. We had pointed out that sometimes when we go and walk our dog in the neighborhood, we say hello to everyone because it's just cordial. It's not because we're in love with them. It's not because we're really being nice. It's just because that's what you do. It's a good place to come from spiritually and energetically speaking. You're open, you're friendly, you say hello. And yet there's one person in the neighborhood who has a lot of enemies, and when I just plain old say hello, I don't get a response. I get a cold shoulder. Literally, she turns around and walks away, ignoring me as if she didn't hear me. And sometimes I sit there going, what does it cost to just go hello back? And it's no big deal. It really doesn't matter, but it gives you a really good example of how dealing with people can be so easy or it can be so difficult. But a lot of it has to do with the meaning that we assign to the interaction. So for me, really, I kind of was shocked at how unable to just say hello this woman in my neighborhood is. Because generally speaking, when I look at someone and I say hello, they're very happy to be acknowledged, and they smile as a reaction, not because of anything, but it puts you in a good place. You smile and you say hello back, and it sort of uplifts everyone. It's that place of creating a little goodness in the world by doing nothing, just by saying hello, just by smiling. And so I was a little surprised at how saying hello was too much for her. But if I let that bother me, and if I came home and was like, oh, she doesn't like me, and that would really weigh on me. Whereas I kind of went, wow, I can't believe that when I see her and I say hello, I get no response. So our friend had asked us about his confrontational situation because he's getting ready to go into something that he thinks is going to be really uncomfortable and really hard. So when you're going into that kind of thing, one of the problems is the meaning that you're assigning it. Or generally confrontation just sort of lands on you and attacks you. I'm sure, is how most people feel. When that happens, one of the things you still want to do is you want to have already changed your mind and already changed your energy about the confrontation and about how you perceive it, how you're going to experience it. So let's talk about adding some intention into any interaction you have, but certainly the confrontational ones. See, if I'm all worried about that woman saying hello or not saying hello, or a confrontation I had earlier in the week when someone got upset at me for doing something that I do, then, we could take it to the level of a person's argument. Maybe I didn't smile at my neighbor the right way. Maybe she's having a bad day. Maybe I'm friends with my next door neighbor and she doesn't like them, which I strongly suspect. But there's all these personal events going on. There's all these feelings and these interpretations, and you don't want to deal at that level, because one of the greatest difficulties about a confrontation is that we get into an argument. We get into that push-pull, we get into anger, we get into so many emotions. So you really want to remove the emotionality out of it, because you can never convince someone really that your emotions or your feelings are right, that your being hurt is wrong. You can't convince them of those things, nor can you really ever accept someone else's ludicrous idea about what's right and wrong. Someone might tell you that you hurt them, or they can't believe you moved your hand, and you might sit there going, these are my hands. I moved them. How could you possibly confront me about this? Or how could this be a part of this argument? Can you see how this is you're never going to argue that. So take all of the emotionality out of it and focus on your intent. Look at why you're doing what you're doing. A simple example, my neighbor, I'm smiling because I want that in my life. I want to be able to see people and feel like I have nice neighbors, feel like people are cordial, feel like I can say hello when I see another person walking their dog. That's what I want. My intent is to set that forth in my life and experience that for myself. Well, when you know what your intent is, that changes everything, because you are the only one who can really work towards your intent or not. That's something no one else can take away from you. So, Oberon wants me to point out that if you take your power in a confrontational situation, then you're going to be experiencing some of what I'm saying. Your intent is yours. What you do and why you do it, it's sort of on you, good or bad. So the confrontation I had also with a friend of mine about doing what I do, I went to my intent. I just sat there going, this is what I do. I'm doing what I do. I did it last year. I've done it before. This is like no big deal. And then the person kind of went, you didn't do it before. I said, yeah, I did. And that kind of changed them. I did not really address the emotional aspects that the confrontation brought forth. And on an emotional level, there were like 3 opinions and feelings or emotional aspects about what I had done wrong. But I didn't go there, because that will always be subjective. Don't want to fight that losing battle, because there is no winning it. Instead, I stuck to, look, I'm doing what I do. It's what I do. It has nothing to do with what we're doing. I'm not changing our agreement. That's it. At that point, you have to let things go. You can't control what's out there. You can't control how people are going to react, how they're going to respond. You can't control what life is going to do. So you leave it out there. You say where you're coming from, which is so much more powerful, like Oberon was pointing out, when you're coming from your own intent. This is who I am. This is what I'm doing. I don't intend to hurt you. I don't mean to step on your toes. I don't mean to bring down your day by saying hello to you, kind of thing. But there you have it. That becomes a lot more difficult to argue with, because one of the worst things is getting caught up and having a confrontation escalate and get worse and worse and go bigger, bigger, bigger. So when you stick instead to your intent, it's a lot harder for it to escalate. And for example, in the conversation I had earlier in the week, since I had brought it to my intent, since I had said, hey, look, this is what I do, then the person I was talking with brought back her 3 points, her 3 emotional opinions, and that kind of thing. So once again, I said, this is what I do. I didn't go there. In other words, since I didn't hook in and argue, she tried to re-hook me in. Don't let yourself get hooked. Instead say, keep it short. Say, hey, this is what I do, and then find a way to really end your conversation. Walk away from confrontation. You don't want to give someone the cold shoulder. You don't want to flip them off, like, I don't mean literally, I mean, walk away and brush them off, that's the right word. But you do really want to say your piece and then end it. Because once you've said your piece, there's really nothing more to say. I always think that it is important to say to someone, I'm sorry if this has hurt you. That wasn't my intent. Here's what I'm doing. And then I let it go because there's nothing more to do. I think it's important to be considerate of someone else, but I certainly can't take responsibility for someone else. I can't be responsible for making them happy, changing myself so that their confrontation is satisfied. Because the truth is, it won't ever be satisfied. It's not really, at that point, a problem with me because it's within them. Their opinions and their emotions or their perspective or their emotional charge is all them. It's not something I can control. It's not something that I'm responsible for. So make sure that you also come to a close pretty quick, pretty good. Don't let yourself get sucked in. Stick to your intent, and if you need to, say, I'm sorry this has affected you this way. It's not my intent. I hope you understand where I'm coming from. I gotta go. And let me tell you that if someone's confronting you, chances are they'll want to keep hooking you in. They'll want to go, wait, but there's this, And I really think you really want to watch that, because the more they try to hook you in and the more they bring another emotional component, the more likely you are to fall deeper into the confrontation. So when you change your mind and you decide that a confrontation is just a conversation, and that a confrontation can help you really tune into your intent, and it can help you discern between someone's opinions, someone's feelings, and intentions. You can look at their intent, you can look at your intent, put your feelings and their feelings aside. Then you're going to come to a confrontation from a very different place. You really will start to feel like it's more like a conversation, albeit a heated one perhaps, but it's going to put you in a far more empowered place so that you don't just feel like you're on the defensive, so that instead you feel like you can have your voice and you can have a conversation without falling victim to a confrontation. I hope that gives you some really good different perspectives, some techniques, some different perception on how to look at a confrontation so that you really change your mind and your energy, and you come from a very different place in yourself, which means you're coming from a different energy, giving you a very different experience when it comes to those kinds of confrontational difficulties. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to like and to subscribe to our channel to catch us next time, or check out our website.